Hi all, this is Deepak. Hope you all are doing well. Today in this video we are going to cover very interesting topic which is like how to build full stack application using React.js as a front end, Node.js and Express framework as a backend and PostgreSQL as a database. In short, like we are going to create a complete full stack application along with the CRUD operations. We are also going to test it using Postman and verify the results in Postman as well as in database tables. The at high level the points which we are going to cover, like first we will see the introduction, in which like I will showcase you a small demo of user interface and the running functionality of our application, with which you can visualize how our application will look like once we build and run it in the browser. Next point, we are going to create a backend application using Node.js, and we will create our backend application with name student-server. And finally, we will create our front-end application with name student-web, and we will build it using the React.js. At low level on the backend side, we are going to cover these points. So first, we will create a Node.js backend server using Express framework. Next, like we are going to create a database and table on Postgres side, and then we will configure the database attributes in Node.js backend application. Next point, like we will implement the CRUD functionality to store data or fetch data from this PostgreSQL database tables. Finally, we will test our APIs using Postman and verify data in Postman as well as in PostgreSQL database. All these points we are going to cover in our backend application, which is student-server, which we are going to build while creating a backend application. At low level on the front end side, we are going to create student-web project, in which the points which we are going to cover, like first we will create a React.js front-end application. Next, like we will implement the APIs and integrate all those APIs with Node.js backend application. So the APIs which we are going to cover, like first we will implement get API. Next we will implement the search filter with which we can filter out the table data based on what text we enter. Next we will implement the post API, update API. We are also going to display the error message for a particular scenario. Finally, we will implement the delete API. So all these CRUD operations we are going to implement and integrate with Node.js backend application. Finally, we will test our client application with interacting with the Node.js backend application using UI browser and verify the result in database side as well as on browser side. So all these points we are going to cover on the front end side. So let us start with our first point, like we will start with the introduction. So in this, like I will showcase you how our application will look like so that you can visualize it. So this is our user interface, like once we build and run our application, how it will look like. So herein we have given the header part. This is the search filter panel, and this is the data box. In this search filter we can enter any text. Accordingly the data get filtered out. So basically this filter is applicable to all the column data. So this is about the search filter. Next, like we can click on add button in order to add a new student in the database. Herein we need to give the name of the student, let's say Manoj. Major subject we need to pass, let's say chemistry, and email we need to give, let's say manoj@gmail.com. We can simply click on add student and we can see Manoj is added as the last record. Likewise, we can add the student we want. So if we want to edit any student, we can simply click on edit button and edit our record. Let's say instead of Manoj, we can say it's a David. and we are going to change it. Now here we can say maths as a major, and here we can see david@gmail.com. We can simply click on update button, and we can see Manoj is replaced with David with update successful update. So likewise, if you want to delete any record, so you can simply click on delete button. It will show you pop up for the confirmation. So you can simply click on OK, or you can see that record is deleted from the table data. So all these functionalities we are going to cover in this video from scratch. So without further ado, let us start and jump into the coding. So we can create our new folder. Let's say it's a student-app, in which we are going to keep our student server and student web, all these backend and front-end applications. So let me open the VS Code. Let me first close this existing VS Code so that we will have only single instance. Here we will first create our backend server. So we need to create one new folder. So we can create our new folder with name student server, and we can point to student server. You can see now the folder is empty. So let us initialize it using command npm init-y. You can see the package.json is created. Now herein we need to install all the dependencies and module which are required to build this application. So let's say we can install this using command npm install express, Node.js, course, and pg. You can see the dependencies added it here. So let me tell you what is the uses of all this one by one. So course we can use to interact to the backend server using browser. So Express is a framework with which it allows us to build backend applications, Node.js based backend applications, and it will help us to create Node.js backend applications. Node.js with Node.js, like we can restart our application automatically on code changes. Like it with this module, it will keep on detecting the code changes and automatically restart our server. With PG, it's a module we can use to interact with the PostgreSQL database and do the respective operations. So next thing, like we can create one file with name, it's a server.js, and now we need to add all the required packages or imports which we are going to use it here in server. First I will add this and I will explain next. what all packages we require, we have imported or added it first. Like we require Express, we require course, and this is the PG module we have we are using, and herein we are using the pool on that, and this is our application, and this is the body parser in order to deal with the JSON. Next, like we need to create one port constant, and herein we can say process dot environment or port. We can either take it from the environment, or we can specify the particular port, let's say with number as 3005. You can give any number. Now we can write app dot let our app use course. Next thing, like it will use body parser JSON. Next, like we are also going to use body parser URL encoded, and here mention extended as a true. Next thing, let our app listen to port, and here we are passing the error object in case of any error, so it will show that. If error, it will simply throw that error, or else it will log the message as server is running successfully on port, and we can mention the port which we have defined at this step. Okay, fine, we can save it. Now let us check by running it. We can use command npm start to run it. We can see our server is running successfully on port 3005, which is as expected. Now next thing, like what we can do, we have created now our first backend application. Now we need to configure the database attributes. So in order to configure the database attributes, first we need to check whether we have table and database existed on database side or not. So let us create a new database so that you can have a clear picture on how it will be. We can save it. Here we can add inside schemas and inside tables. We can add one new table by using create table option, and here we can simply add our table name, and we need to create the columns. Let's say first column, it's a student ID. Data type, we can use serial. We can make it as a primary key. Next, we can add name. We can choose character varying as data type. We can mention some length, and we can make it not null. Similar way, we can add one new column as a major, data type as a character varying, and its a length 250. We can make it as a not null. And finally, we can add last column as a email, data type as a character varying, and let's say 250 as a length, and we can make it not null. Likewise, you can add any number of columns as you want, but we can stop it here. Like we have 4 different columns with 4 different data types, and we can simply save this. So what we have done it here, so we have created new database with name as a students underscore master. Inside that, we have created new table with name student, and with columns like student ID, name, major, and email. So major is for the subject which our students have. Okay, fine. Now let us configure the database part. So if you want to check, like now our student table is empty. So if you want to cross check, you can check it. Like here we can run this, and you can see there is no data because we have just created our table, and these are the column names only. Now let us configure the database attributes set here. So for that, first we will create a constant with name as a pool, and we can create an object for this pool. We can first we can mention the username, next password, next database we have just created, which is like student underscore master. Next we can use host name, which is localhost for now. Next we can use port name, which is 5432. This is the port name which you have mentioned at the time of Postgre installation. Next we can use the max. These are the maximum client connection we are going to allow. So these are the database attributes we have set. Username, password which you have set, you need to mention. The database which you have created, host is a local host, port which you have set, that port you need to mention, and these are the maximum connections you can enter. Now next thing, like we can simply check if it is if our connection is successful by calling this connect method and passing the error object or connection object. Or we can log this on successful. Throw is a mistake, spelling mistake was there. Okay, herein we can, on successful connecting to database, we can display message connected to database successfully. We can say okay, connected to product master database successfully. We can print this message in case of successful connecting to the database. We can simply save it. Okay, so here in, like, first we need to do like in our package.json we need to make some changes. Like here we need to mention, instead of index.js we need to give our file which is a server.js, and we need to add the start script. Here is a node1 and here is our server.js, and we need to complete this statement. You can save it. Now okay, so now let us restart it again. So we can see it is connected to the product master database successfully with this database attributes. Okay, so that's it, we are done with our database configuration part. Now let us start with the implementing the CRUD APIs. Now first we will cover our get all students API. So the HTTP get method we are going to use, and this is the endpoint which is /students. Next we are going to pass request and a response which is common for all APIs, and herein we need to prepare a query. Like here query we are going to use is select star from and here we are going to call the pool.query, and inside we are going to pass this SQL, and here we have object we need to pass as an error and result, and here we can say in case of error we are simply going to return response.json, and here is our error object. And in case of success we are going to return, in case of success, and for success its status is a 200. In case of success we are going to return our result dot rows. So we require all the rows, so we are returning rows. So what we have done, we are using, in order to retrieve all the students from the database, we are using HTTP GET method. This is the endpoint slash students, and these are the request response objects, and we are preparing the SQL, and here we are executing the query and passing the SQL, and here result and error objects. In case of error it will throw the error, and in case of success it will return the rows, result rows. So let us save it. With this we are done with our first API, like which is returning all the students from the database. Next thing, like we will implement one more get API in order to get a particular student on base for the given student ID. So here we need to pass the student ID for which we want the student object. We need to extract the student ID from the request parameter, and we need to pass the same student ID here in where clause, so that it will retrieve a particular student record for a particular student ID. Here we are going to pass the placeholder for the student ID, and herein we are actually passing the student ID which we have retrieved from the request object. We can save it. Yes, so this is the student ID we have extracted from the request, and we are passing as the input, and this will be replaced with this placeholder at the place of placeholder. Okay, so we are done with our get API, and which is particularly getting a single student object. In order to get the single student object, we need to here mention as a only one element we are going to retrieve, not an array. Okay, fine. Now next thing, we can add our post API in a similar fashion. So we can copy it, and here we can simply make change for post, and here we are not going to pass the student ID, and this is again not required. We need to prepare a query like insert into student. Here we need to pass name, our major, and email, and here we need to pass the values, and here we need to add the placeholder for the values, first, second, and third. And here we don't need this one, rather we can say it's a returning star. So once we insert into the database, after that we are also going to show the list, return the list. So we are using this returning. Now here we need to get these values from the body, request body. So we can prepare one constant and pass these in the constant, and we can see this is the request body. Now we need to pass this the request body, we need to pass these inputs to this our query, pool.query method. So here we have passed all these required inputs, and these inputs will get placed at this placeholder places, and finally it will return the query, execute the query. In case of error it will return the error, and in case of success it will return all the rows. So, and here we are creating the student, so the status should be the 201 got created. Now what we can do, like we can now next API which is update, we can implement that. Here for update we can use patch method. We need to add student ID as an input. So for student ID we need to extract the student ID from the request params, and here we need to update the query. For update it's update student, and here we need to set name placeholder major, second placeholder, and email it's a third placeholder. And here we need to add the where clause, and in where clause we can set our student ID is equal to our fourth placeholder. Now we need to pass these three inputs as well as the student ID input. So we are passing the three inputs, and this is the student ID input we need to pass, which will go into the where clause. Okay, fine, we are done. Now this is the error case and this is the success case. Here we can pass the 200 for success, and here we need to send a successful message, successful updation message. So we can say student is updated successfully for student ID, and here we can pass the actual student ID. Yes, fine. So we are done with our patch method. Now let us add delete method. For delete method we need to use delete HTTP method, and we need to pass the student ID as well as the request body. No, request body is not needed for deletion, just student ID is enough. Here we need to modify the query, like it's a delete from student, and we need to add just a where clause, and here we need to change it to 1. Now here we are going to pass the student ID only as an input, which will be set into the where clause, and here we are going to update the message, like instead of updated we can say it's a deleted successfully for the student ID. We can save it. So with this, like we are done with all the CRUD APIs. Now we need to test it. So this step, like implementing CRUD functionality, so this we are done with this step. Now let us test it using Postman. Let me open the Postman. Now herein we are going to use the port as a 3005 and host as a local host. So we need to use the same in our Postman. Let's say we can use our port now, localhost as a host and port as a 3005, and inside body we can set as a JSON, and we can hit it. Yes, it is showing the empty array because there are no data in the table as of now. So you can see the table is empty, so it is showing empty array, which is expected, and which is correct one. Now next thing, like we need to add some record into the database. So let us use our post method. For this we are going to use the same URL, and here we need to pass some object for post method. Let's say we can add some object at here in our post method. This is the searching mass, and this one we can see the student is added successfully into the database. Now let us add one more entry, a couple of entries. Let's say Mac, and here chemistry, and here is the Gmail for Mac, and we can save it, send it. Yes, the second ID is created successfully. Okay, so this is our post method. So in order to show a particular inserted record, we can simply use the 0 index so that it will show the exact record which we have inserted into the result. Now let us add one more entry. Let's say Sam for physics, and it's a Sam in Gmail. We can see it is not returning the array, rather the single entry which we have just added. Now let us cross check by executing the get method. Yes, we can see it is showing all the records which we have just added. Now let us try with the patch method, with which we can update any record. Now let us say so we can take this last record and update this. Here we need to pass the ID, and the whole object we need to pass a modified object. So we can modify it. Let's say instead of here we can change it to Sandeep, and here instead of physics we can say it's maths, and here we can add the Sandeep mail, and we can send it. So you can see the student is updated successfully for student ID, for the given student ID. So we can cross check it here in get method. We can see the last record is updated successfully for the third student. We can cross check in database as well. Yes, we can see these many records, and Sandeep we have recently updated is appearing. Now what we can do, we can go for the delete method, and here in for delete method just passing the ID is enough in the URL itself. So this is the third entry which we want to delete. So we can see the student ID 3 is deleted successfully. We can cross check by calling the get method. Now the student ID 3 is it is not showing, which is as expected. We can cross check in database as well. As we can see, the third ID is deleted from the database successfully. So we have added two get APIs. So first is retrieving all the all the students, and next is like based on student ID, it will retrieve only single student. Yes, if we pass 2, it will return 2. If we pass 1, it will return 1. Student ID, one object. So that's it about the testing of all the APIs, backend APIs using Postman and verifying the data in database. So now we are done with our backend part. Now we need to focus on our front end part, and we need to create this student web application. So let us start with the first step. We can create a student web application using React.js. Let me open one new terminal, and here now we can use command like npm create white at the latest, and here we can name give our name, our application name. It's a student web. It will create the project folder with this command. We need to select React and JavaScript. Yes, go to student web. We can use npm install, with which it will build. So now we can run our application using command npm run dev. We can copy this URL. We can see the application is running fine and is displaying the default message. So it is running, so there is no issues in the application. Now what we can do, like you can see the student web folder is created with all the default files and folders. Now we can clear all the content from this student web so that we can make a fresh start. So let me clear everything from the app.jsx. On content, unused variables and unused imports we can remove, and just we have cleared the content. Similar way we can clear everything from app.css. Now we can make a fresh start. From index.html also we will remove this title, and here we can add our title, full stack application using React.js, Node.js, and our PostgreSQL. So save it, and this link is also we can remove. Fine, we can save it. Now we can start adding our actual UI part layout. We will do this first. We will add particular div parent div components, and next like we will keep on adding. Here we it should be student container. So what we will do, like we will create one main container. Inside that, first we need to add our header, and the header is header we can copy it from here. We have just say it. Next thing we can write one more div inside this one, and we can name it like it's a search box. And here we can add one more div like table box, and we can add one header inside this one as an search box, and we can repeat it here as well for a table box. So we can save it. We can see it is the text is appearing. Now what we can do, like we can start adding the CSS part for this one. First is the student container, next is the search box, and next is a table box. Okay, fine. We can add one border first. We can repeat the same for all. You can save it. Now we can add it's a display is a block. Next we can add we can set some width, say 565 pixel, height as a fit content, and margin left, let's say 35 pixel. We can save it. Now okay, margin bottom we can add something like 300 pixel. We can, okay, fine. Now here for search box we can define some height. It's a 65 pixel, let's say. For width we are going to use the table container width, same as for this one. Now here for table box we are going to give some margin top as an 15 pixel, let's say. You can save it. Fine. Now this border is not necessary of the student container, so we can remove it. We can save it. Yes, fine. Now we need to add the text alignment as well. It's for center. Okay, so now it seems good. Now this header is not required. We can remove this. Save it. Now for table we can mention some height. Fine, it seems good. Now let us add the actual controls. First we will start adding for this one search box we can add, and then we will add for the table box. So before that, what we can do, we need to add the for headers as well. So header we will add later on, so let us see now. Okay, fine. Now we can go to, we will start adding the search box filter. So here in like we require one input text and one button, add button. So we will start adding that. First input search, we need to add one placeholder as an search student here, and we can give a class name to it as an search input, and we are going to add one button, and its name is like add, and here we can give a class name as an add btn. You can save it. Now we need to add the css for this one. We can start adding. Search input we can say first we will add margin top as an, next we can add similar way margin left as an 15 pixel. We can define some width, let's say 260, height as an somewhere 35 or 30 pixel. Fine. And here we can make a border radius as an 5 pixel. We need to provide. Okay, so let us check it. Okay, fine. Now we can provide some width we can make it. Okay, fine, let us try with the same width. Now next thing, like we can add for add width button. width we can mention 120, height we can mention, let's say 65, or we can say 35 pixel. Now next thing, like margin left 160 pixel, let us see. Font size we can make for 15 or 13 pixel. Font weight we can take it as a bold. You can save it. So line height we can take as an 10 pixel. So this font with bold is not needed. Let us check. Fine. We need to add the border 1 pixel solid, and again the border radius 5 pixel. And save it. Fine. Now margin left, so we need to add margin left. Okay, here we can add margin left. We can make it 200. We can add the width to 275 of this input. Let us see, check. You can say 300. Seems good. Now it is fine. With this we are done with our search filter. We can use height as a 30 pixel for the button, and width as an 100 pixel. Fine, it seems good. Okay, fine. Now next thing, like we will start adding the table part. Can give the class name as a table. Here we can add tr, and inside this we can add table head. First is a student ID. Likewise, we need to provide 3 more columns. and two action buttons. So here we can give second as a name column, third as a major, and fourth as an email. First action button name as edit, and next as in delete. We can save it. Fine. Now similar way we can add body. You need to mention rows. Inside rows we are going to add td, and here we can say first student id as 100. Here we can mention, we can repeat this. Now name we can say Ajay, and here major we can say maths, and here we can say it's an ajay@gmail.com. Now here we can add one button for edit button, last name as an edit btn, and we can complete this button. We need to give header as an label as an edit, and here similar way we need to add one more td for delete button, and here the label we can give delete. Okay, fine. Now here we can save it. Now we need to add the css part for this one. First is a table. You can say border collapse as an collapse. Border radius we can take it as a 5 pixel. We can save it. Next thing, for table th we can add first, let's say font size 13 pixel. Font weight we can define as in bold. Border 1 pixel solid. Line height we can make somewhere 23 pixel. Text align center, you can save it. Fine. So you can mention table width, which is container width, as in fine. Next thing, we can add in similar way for table row data. Let's say font size we can make it 10. And the line height we need to give outline as a none. We have given this line height. I saved it. Here also for th part we can give outline as a none. sorry, here it should be TD. Now it seems good. TH was repeated, due to which it was not reflecting on the on UI. Now this border is redundant. We can remove the table box border. We can save it. Fine, it seems good now. We can add edit button as well as delete button here. We can say font size 10 pixel. First we need to add border 1 pixel solid. Border radius we need to add as in 5 pixel. Next we can add width as in somewhere 65 pixel. Fine, it seems good now. We can repeat, this is the one row, we can repeat few more rows and check how it looks. Fine, it seems good now. Now what we can do, like we can do on click of add button should open the pop-up, so that part we can start adding now. Here on add click, on add button click, we need to add click event. Here we can say open pop-up is the function which need to be called on click, and here we need to define that function. First we need to define one constant, like say is model open. You can set is model open, and here we can use state as in first it is a false. Now here we can use on click of add button, we want to open the pop-up, we can say it's a true. Now we can save it. Now we need to display that pop-up it somewhere, so we can say before the table start we can display this. If model open is true, in that case we are going to open this div. You can name it like add edit pop-up, because this pop-up is going to use for add and edit for both operations. Now herein like we can, okay, so let us add one close button, and we can name it like close median. Next we can add one label, like let's say student detail to set. Fine. Now what we can do, we can add some width for this pop-up. Now let us add some width, let's say 350 pixel, height 320 pixel somewhere, border 1 pixel solid, and that's it. And we need to add z index. We need to add z index so that it will appear first. and border collapse as in collapse. You can save it. Now let us check. So you can see this close button, and this is the header. Now we need to add the CSS part for this close button and the header as well. So let us add header part. Close button, we can say it should show at the right side. Fine. Now next thing, like for this we can define some width for header. We can define some height. We can give 30 pixel, and here we need to add some border, 1 pixel solid. We can save it. Fine. We can make it border radius as 5 pixel, and margin left we can add as an somewhere 15 pixel. Save it. Fine, it seems good. Now we need to add for close button as well. Let's say font size we can define 27 pixel. Let us say, let us check what happens. Okay, font weight as in bold. Fine. Margin right we can give 5 pixel. Fine, it seems good now. So we have opened this pop-up on click of add button. Now it is not functional here. It is, so we need to add some function to close, on close, so that it will get closed. So this is our close button. So we can add on click event on this one, and we can say handle close. So let us add one constant for closing, and we can repeat it. So for on opening it is true, and on closing it should be false. You can save it. Yes, now it is getting closed. Okay, so let us add the color palette now to this one. So it's added it color. So first we will add the color for header h3. This header we want to add the color for. We can say h3 and background color. We can simply add color, and we can use this color. Fine, it is showing. Now for this pop-up search box, we can Sorry, I was on mute. So for buttons, we can add the color. Here we can add red, blue, green color, green, blue. We can save it. Okay, so we can apply the color so that we can check how it looks. Here is our add button and here is yes, we can see it is getting applied. We can make it width 238. Fine. Now we will keep adding to all the edit buttons, action buttons. So on click of pop-up, so here we have not added anything. Okay, so let us add color to delete button. Next we can add pop-up controls. Save it. Now we can add this delete color to our delete button. Fine. So we have added the delete color to delete button. Next thing, like what we can do, we can add the controls inside this one first, which was missing inside pop-up. So for pop-up, what all things we are required? First we will create one div, and here we can name it like pop-up div. Inside that we need one label, one first for a name, and one input text. Here we can give name as a name, id as a name, and here we can add class name as an pop-up input, pop-up label. Fine, we can save it. We need to add one line break it here. Fine. Now we can add the CSS part for this one. Fine. Similar way we can add for pop-up input. Fine. Here we can add border radius as 5 pixel. Now we can give some height, let's say 35 pixel. We can make it 30. Fine. Next we can increase some width. Fine, it seems good now. Instead of 30 we can give it as a 27, and width we can make it to 15. It seems good. Fine. Now next thing, like we can repeat this for two more controls. This is for name, so we can repeat for major and email. So we can add its major, and we can copy this. Next for email, and we can copy it for email. You can save it. Now so floating left we can remove, and we can increase the margin to 73 somewhere. So it's a margin right. You can save it. Okay, so for margin right we need to give. Fine. And here margin left we can add 15 pixel. Seems good. So there is a line break somewhere. I think we need to save it. Okay, fine. It seems good now. What we can do, we can add one button here. Now we need to give one line break. After that we can add one button. So add student as a button label, and we can add a class name as an add student btn. We can save it. Now we can add css for this one. We can add border as a 1 pixel solid. And border radius, we can make it as a 5 pixel. You can save it. Now font size, that's a 15 pixel, and line height, okay. Fine, it seems good now. So we are done with the controls. Now let us add the color to this. We have this h4 header color. So first add edit pop-up color. Fine, it seems good. Now for header color we can add something, background color. Fine, it seems good. Now for close button we can add color as an it's red. Fine. And for add button we can add edit color, so which is like color we have, yes, same color we can add it for add button. Seems good. Now everything seems good. Now let us add some table colors. Okay, so he hover or focus, it should change the color, so that part we can add now. So let's say for edit button hover or edit button focus, we need to add something. So we can say background color. Is 92, 195, and 209. We can give some specific color to edit. So yes, it is changing. Now for add button also we need to add that. We can copy this and we can add for add button. In similar way we need to add for add student button. So here is our add button and here is our add student button. And save it. Fine, you can see it is changing as expected. If we open this add student button should get changed. So let us check what is the name of the class for add student. So here student spelling is mistake. Okay, now we can save it. Okay, so in CSS we need to add the same student name as this one, and now we can see it is changing. Fine. Now we can add the color to our table part. So wait, here for this one input box. Now all the colors we have applied. Sorry, I was on mute. All the colors we have applied it here. So let's say we have applied to headers, search filter and table data and even for pop-up. Now everything is done. Now we can focus on our actual integration part. So our UI is done, our backend APIs are ready. Now we are going to integrate our backend API to UI or our UI to backend API. So now let us start that. First thing, like this table data is static, so we need to add one get API and retrieve the all the students and display it here. Now let us start that. First of all, so we need to add one get API. So before that we can define one constant for storing the students, and we can set students, and here is an we are going to use and array. Fine, we can save it. Let me show you, like we are done with this part. Now we are going to implementing this backend integration part, wherein we are going to create all the APIs and integrate it. So that part we are continuing on. So here we have defined one variable. Now we are going to use our get API. Let's say we can define constant get students. Here we can define here. Okay, so in order to get all students and use the APIs, we need to install one more package or library. Let's say that library is Axios. So let us install that first, so that we can call all the APIs on Axios. So first we need to import Axios. Fine. Now we can make use of Axios at here in order to call our. Herein we can mention our URL, the host name, which is a local host, port name, which is 3005 we are using, and our actual endpoint, which is a students. And here we can say then the response for response, we are going to first set students as an response dot data, and we can save it. Now get all students, we have defined it. Okay, now is declared but never used. Okay, fine. Now we need to use effect, and herein we need to call this get all students, and here we need to initialize with the dependency array, and it will call this our get all students. So this is the students. Now we need to display this get all students will get called from this use effect, and it will return some response which will get stored in the students. Now we need to use this student and replace our static data with this student, actual student. So here in our t body, inside this tr, we need to replace. So first of all we can copy this somewhere so that we can edit it here, and we need to use this student. Here we can replace this tr and delete it, and here we can add it's our tr, and we have student dot map. Here we can say students, and here we can return our table row, and here we can mention as a key dot student id. So next thing, like we are going to add TAD part. I was in meeting instead TD. we can add for student ID, same it here. Next we can add student name, student major, and here is a email. We can save it. Let us run our application. We can see it is reflecting. Now we need to add the action buttons, which we have copied it here. Yes, now we can see it seems good. Now what happens, it is showing only 2 records. Let us check in database how many records are there. Can execute this query. Yes, there are 2 records only with name Sachin and Mac. Yes, it is showing the same records. That means our GET API is successfully showing the records. Okay, so fine. Now let us add the API for. Now let us go for this search filter functionality, which we are going to cover as the next point. Search filter. Whenever we click something at here, it should get searched. Okay. Now we can add that search filter functionality. Now here we can go at this is the search input text box, and here we need to add our on change event, because on change it should do. Let's say handle search, we can function name we can define. Now here we can say constant handle search, and here we are going to pass some event, and here we can say constant search value e dot target dot value dot to lower case. First we can get the value from our, for that particular what text we have entered here, so that value will get stored in this variable. Now we can filter our actual students, and here we can say it's a student dot okay, here filter student, and here we can say student dot name dot to lowercase dot includes, and here we can give the search value or case. Here we can repeat it for major as well, and we need to repeat it for email as well, because the search filter is applicable to all the column data. So you can save it. So if this whatever search and we enter the value, if that is matching to name value or major or email column value, then it will filter our student array. So we need to store this filtered array in somewhere, so we can add one more constant variable to store the filtered data. So we can say it's a filtered students, and here we can use the same set filtered students. Fine. Now what we can do here, we can add this filtered students, we can say filtered data, and we can set this filtered data to our filtered students, and we can pass it to this filtered data at here. Fine. Okay. So we can use the same name as this. So here is okay. So we need to here complete the bracket due to which it was failing. You can say here instead of filter the data we can store and we can pass it here. Seems good. Fine. So I think we have implemented the search filter functionality. Now let us check if it is working. Let's say we can type searching. So somehow it's a handle search value dot to lowercase search value students dot filter. Okay, actually it is getting filtered, but we need to show the filtered data it here. Right now we are showing the students. This is the original data we are showing. So in order to show the filtered data, we need to use this one. And again, one more thing, we need to set it here as well, the filtered data. Set filtered students is in response dot data. We can save it. Now we can check it. Yes, we can see it is reflecting for Mac. Yes, let's say for chemistry. Yes. So here if we enter Y, it will so give us the chemistry record. So the filter is working fine. As such, we have very less record, so that's why it is showing only 2 records we have. Fine, but anyway it is working fine. So if whenever we implement the add and edit, so that time also we can check the filter, but it is working fine as expected. Now let us add the post API. So here on click of add button, it should show add the API. Okay, so add student, here we can say on click it's an handle submit. We can call this function, and here after handle search we can go for handle submit. This is the constant for handle submit, and here we are going to call it. Now here for handle submit is it's an event. You can see dot default function, you can call it. Now here for handle submit we can say we can call the method axios. Copy this, and here we need to call post method, and here we need to pass the data which is our actual student data. Okay, so here we need to define one bean as in student constant, and we can say set student data, and here whose state, and here in like we can define name as a blank, measure as a blank, and finally email as a blank. You can save it. Now what we can do, for adding the data. So here whenever we add something at here inside pop-up, it should be stored in some object, and that object we need to pass to database. So what we can do, this value will get stored into this student data. So in order to store that, what we can do, like we can use the value attributed here dot its name. Similar way we can copy it, and it is for major, and this is for email. So now this will not get copied automatically, so rather we need to add one handle function, like let's say on change. So whenever we change something into the text box, we should call this handle change. So here we can add that function like handle change, constant handle change, and here we need to set the values to our student data, and this is like is our student data, and here is our e.target.name, and here is our, we are setting the actual values like a dot value. Now we need to call this handle change at 3 places. On change event we need to, for name, for major, and as well as for name. So we have covered for all these three. Now let us check with this functionality of adding data or submitting the data. Okay, so here is our submit part. Here we need to add a sync. Here we can use await, and let us check. Now we can submit it. 3005 students, and here for post we need to add our student data. We can save it. Let us. So for handle submit, we can simply say, we don't need to set it at here. We can say console.log response data. Fine. Now let us check. So what we can do, we can start to add, let's say somewhere its name is Kevin and major is, now we can take as an physics, and email kevin@gmail.com. We can see Kevin is getting added, but after refreshing the page. Now let us add the code, like once this is successful, it should call handle close, so that it will close the pop-up on successful addition, and inside handle close we need to call this get all students, so that we can show all the list once we add any new student, so that we can see the list. Okay, now we can say let's add one new entry, let's say David, and it's a student of history. We can add david@gmail.com, and we can add student. Yes, we can see the David is added without refreshing and closing the pop-up. Now we are done with our post method. Now let us add the code for update button. So for update button, what we can do, here is our add, here is our edit. Now here we can say on click. Whenever we click on edit, you can say handle update. So here we have to pass the actual bean which need to be updated. Let's say handle update is a student data. We can add it here, and here is our student object is here. So here it's not a student or data, it should be student, which we are going to use it here. We need to pass it here. You can save it. Now here what we need to do, first of all we need to set the values in the pop-up, whatever which row we want to edit. So to do that, we need to set this set student data, and here we need to pass the student object which we are entering. Next thing, like, okay, so this is the next thing. So what we have done, like we are doing, like on handle update, first it will open the pop-up and set the values which are there. Okay, no, so first we can set the values and then open the pop-up. That will do fine. Okay, so what student data is there, that will get updated into, that will get shown into the pop-up. Fine, we can save it and let us check what happens. Yes, the student data is getting shown it here. It's for Kevin, it's for Sachin. Fine, it seems good. Now next thing, like we need to do the actual updation on click of our this button. So now this is the add student, so actually it should show the update student on click of edit. So let us do that change as well. If student ID is there, then we can go for update student, or we can go for add student. Okay, fine, we can check it now. For add it is showing add, for update it is showing update student. Okay, fine, it seems good. Now what next thing, like we need to update our actual record. So here also again we need to add if student data dot student ID is there, in that case go for updation, else go for addition. Fine. For updation we need to add the student ID, and we can call the patch method. Save it. Fine. So for update is here, so we are passing the student, and we are for updation, this is the update, like we are going to use patch method and passing the student ID which need to be updated, and the student data which need to be updated. Okay, fine. Now let us check it once what will happen. Okay, fine, we can save it, and now let us update the last record. Here we can give, instead of David we can say Sam, history, geography, and here say sam@gmail.com. Yes, we can see the record is updated successfully. So we can cross check in database as well. We can see last record is Sam, which is updated as expected. Now next thing, like we can add one error message, display one error message. So let's say for displaying the error message we can say here is a constant, and here is, we can define one error message constant, and here is our use state, and here first of all it is a blank error message. Now here we can add while submitting, like let's say if student data dot name is not there, or student data dot major is not there, or student data dot email is not there. So major is not there and email is not there, or name is not there. So any condition, if name is not there, or major is not there, or email is not there, in that case we are going to set the error message. We can give some constant like error message, let's say. Now here we can set one error message like all fields are required. Okay, next we can set this error message in this object, let's say error message. You can save it. Fine. Now we need to display it somewhere, this error message. Now what we can do, so before displaying this error message we need to check the conditions, like say if the error message dot length is equal to 0,
And what this means, if there is no error, means error dot length is 0, means if there is no error, then go for updation. Else for adding also there should not be any error to add the atom. In case of error is not there, then it should handle close, means it should close the pop-up on successful updation or addition of the student, or if there is an error, then it should stop on the pop-up so that we can view the error. So this thing is there, so that's it. Now we need to actually show the error, the place where exactly we are going to show the error. Let us say where we can show, here is some space, so we can, after student details label, or we can show after this header we can show this error. So let's say error message is there, and then we can show it in our paragraph, and here we can give the class name as error. Somewhere we can save it, and what we can add some CSS part it here. Let us add somewhere in between, and we can give the color name as red because it's error. We can save it, and we can give some margin left somewhere 15 pixels so that it will align with the rest of the component. Okay, fine. Now let us check, we can save it, and we can save it at here. Now let us open the add. Now whenever we click on add student without entering anything, it should show the error. Yes, it is showing the error, all fields are required. Fine. Now if we enter something, then it should add it. Yes, fine. Whenever we open it, now it is not cleared yet for edit, so we need to clear this. So what we can do, whenever we open the pop-up or on close, it should get cleared. So we can say set student data, so we can clear it on close, so that we can say, or so we can refresh it and save it. We can say it is cleared now. And even if now we can repeat the scenario, let's say it is it here. Now we can add something, some records, like let's say email, add students. Yes, it is added. Now if you want to edit, whenever we click on edit, so this error message is still there. So what we can do, we need to clear the error message. Okay, here we can say set error message as a blank, that's it, on close, so that whenever we close this, now it is not showing any error. Yes, fine. So far so good. Now what next, like we have seen the updation part, and we have seen the showing the error message. Let's say if we want to try, it will show all fields are required, and once we add something which is valid, let's say Omar, and update it, yes, it is getting updated. So the error part we have handled now. Now the last thing, like we need to add the delete part, so let us handle that as well. So herein we can define the delete part. It here we can copy this edit part first, and here we can add it for delete. For delete we just need to pass the student ID is enough, and here we can change it a bit, like it's an delete. Okay, fine. Now we can add one function to delete. Mention constant as in delete, and here we are going to add it for delete. Okay, can use sing and await. For here we are going to use delete method, and here we don't need to pass the body, only the student id is enough. Here we need to pass the, we can say student id. In this student id we are going to pass it at here, and we need to close this. Now, so after closing we need to set the list. Let's say we have copied this URL, we are going to open the browser once, and here we can check the delete button. So here on click it is asking for the confirmation, we can click on OK. Now we can see the record is getting deleted, but no, record is not getting deleted. Okay, so let us check what happens at here. Delete. So here it's a mistake, it should be student id. We can save it. Now we can cross check it once. Here spelling mistake, it should be T here. Save it. You can see student record is getting deleted, but after getting refresh, after we are refreshing that, so what we can do, we can add one more thing at here, like it here can add window dot location dot reload, we can call it. Now let us check what happens. We can, this is a separate DSA record. You can see, we can see the record is deleted successfully. We can try for deleting this time. Yes, without refreshing the record is getting deleted. So we have now 3 records, such in Mac and KB. We can cross check in table as well. So here is our table. It should show the 3 records, such in Mac and KB. So this is as expected. Now all the records or the APIs we are done with, and we have tested it through browser as well as through our database tables. We can see the search filter is working fine as expected. There is no issue. We can add any record we want, like let's say with add students, and we can check it into the database as well. Yes, it is getting added. If we want to modify it, we can modify it using, let's say it's a modified, and we can add something students. It's a modified. We can check into the database. You can see it's a modified, and if we want to delete we can simply say delete, and we can see the last record is deleted, which is modified. Yes, fine. So far so good. Everything is working as expected. So with this, like, we are done with our all the points which we have discussed before we start this video. So as a recap, I will tell you what all things we have done. Like we have created a full stack application using React.js as a front end, Node.js and Express framework as a backend, and PostgreSQL as a database. And all these points, like, we have covered all the CRUD operations from browser to database, and database to browser. We have verified all the data. So all the points we have covered so far. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I really thank you for watching this video. I would request you to please like and subscribe the same, so that I will come up with the more knowledgeable videos in future. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching this video.